Yay! Hello, Angel. Welcome to Soul Led Women podcast. Welcome, Shani. I would like to introduce you to Shani. Shani is the heart behind Girls Being Grls, a global women's community that feels like a slumber party where healing happens when girls are being with inner child healing, parts work, and some ceremonial cacao being pillar of her journey in self-love and growth. Shani created Girls Being Grls with the intention of helping women ignite the fire in their heart and building unshakable self-trust so they can live a grounded and heart-led life. Thank you, Shani, for being here.
Thank
And
you
how
so
do you
much for
feel
having
when you
me.
hear those words?
It warms my heart so much. Like, every time I hear that, I'm just like, I really fully just, I just want to hug the vision. I'm like, yes.
I love it so much. Please share a little bit about you and how did you come up with this vision? How did this start?
Oh, goodness. So I had been doing inner child healing workshops and cacao ceremonies for years. And then eventually I felt like I was moving on from the ceremonial space and from the healing space. And I was in a period of time, I moved to Bali. And during those 6 months, I was like, I'm just going to be, and I'm just going to live life. And I'm just going to, trust in, I made a vow to open my heart and to not close it. And I started hosting free women's circles every 2 weeks. If you remember, Pina was one of the first. I was hosting women's circles every 2 weeks, focused more on gathering and being together and just watching things unfold. And I really, really noticed the power of sisterhood and how sisterhood saved my life as well. And I've had, best friends and I have my lifelong friends, but the women's circles helped me really see, like, move from offering ceremony to seeing how life is a ceremony and can be a ceremony. And so eventually I was like, oh, like, the slumber part. And then I started having my own slumber parties with my friends. A lot of my Bali experience, people are like, oh, you went and did all this healing work there. And I'm like, no, I was having a lot of slumber parties and a lot of sisterhood time. And that's what really opened my eyes to seeing how healing just being together is. It initially started with a retreat idea. And then it evolved into different events and then, you know, different little like different, of course, retreats, but it evolved into this sense of community where slumber parties are the core of it and the feeling of the slumber party. No matter if you're attending a 1 day event or if you're attending a few nights retreat, the any type of Girls Being Grls gathering feels like a space where you can breathe and your inner teenager feels like she can really belong. And so I really feel like this work now is an evolvement, like an evolution of my inner child healing work into inner teenager healing work. Because the inner teenager, that sense of belonging and that sense of being able to take up space with who you really are rather than trying to, because a lot of us, when we were teenagers, we wanted to mold ourselves in order to fit in. And so this is like a reclamation of you get to show up as who you are and be celebrated and received by women that you didn't know like a few hours ago. And now you're in this group together. And it's just, yeah, it's so, so healing.
Thank you. I love this so much. The sense of belonging, your reclamation. Amazing. And you still implement your cacao? Because for me, you are the cacao fairy.
Yes, I started out as the cacao fairy. And that's why I love, love, love these retreats and events and this vibe because I still implement the core pillars of inner child and cacao. And cacao is definitely present at all the retreats. It's definitely present at so many events. I even host a big dance party in Minneapolis right now. Well, I did, and I hope to host it again called Cacao Rave. And so it's an ecstatic dance, and we start with cacao and we do these like simple connection exercises to remember that, it's so healing and so fun to just be humans together because that's a co ed event. So both men and women can join. So I still very much bring out the cacao fairy at my events.
Amazing. I love it so much. Can you speak a little bit about the cacao? Why is it important? How it helps us, especially as women?
Oh, yeah. So, for those that don't know, cacao is a heart opening medicine. And the reason why it is that way is because it amplifies the serotonin that you already have within you. It amplifies. So, it's the same as working out, where it releases those endorphins, and it even amplifies and releases the bliss molecule that we have. And the bliss molecule is this like oxytocin like molecule, additional love that you already have within yourself. So it's not giving you anything that you don't have. It's presenting to you, like bringing up to the conscious like mind what you already have, your capacity. And so I would love pairing it with inner child work, or even just being in community together, because even I've had people sip on the cacao and just be like, I feel so much love for all these strangers in this room, and I have so much love for myself. And so it's a great pairing for whatever reflections you want to have, or anything that you want to face, because then you get to face it with the love that you already have inside, instead of pressure, instead of being hard on yourself. And you even notice where you're being hard on yourself. So cacao is a very good reflector as well. And I love to say mama cacao, because mama cacao, it's basically like she's holding your hand and puts you in that mother role for yourself, that observer, and allows you to move through emotions with compassion. So it's a big self-compassion tool, a great tool. Yeah, it's great for personal practice, great for community gatherings. The way historically people have used cacao in ceremony, in ceremony and community, was not so much the way modern cacao ceremonies are. They were more like the healing happened just because of the community gathering and having cacao as a part of it. And so now we're obviously doing more personal development workshops and things like that with cacao. But back then, it was just a tool that was present, and allowing us to, be more open-hearted in community, because when open-hearted people gather, such a magic. And so that's why I love cacao, because it reminds us how simple it gets to be, and how like yeah, just how loving healing can be. Because I think, we can fall into this processing loop and feeling like we need to suffer in order to break through, and we absolutely don't need to. Love is the highest vibration there.
Yes, thank you so much. I love this. And so you said your life is a ceremony. And would you say also that cacao is on a daily basis part
Mm.
of your ceremony of life, or only in these gatherings? And how
That's a
can
good question.
yeah,
I started out by drinking cacao daily. Started, like I was drinking it all the time, and I was working with it very closely. Really recently, I had this realization last night. So it's interesting you asked that, because I was like, I haven't had cacao in like a month or so. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I realized I had only been make the events and for retreats and in community gatherings. And sometimes I even only make it when I know I have a friend coming over and we drop in with cacao. Like, for those listening and know and have had cacao with me, where I would always just have cacao when we would drop in, like that was my go-to, is like, let's just have some cacao together and just chat. But I haven't lately, and I think it's good periods of time where you are working with it very closely, but not to go on autopilot. And so I think for me, it's a good thing right now that I'm not using it daily, so that I don't, because I did realize at one point, I think 2 years ago, that I was kind of just mindlessly making it the same way I make my coffee. And it's good to take a break, because then you can come back and really feel the effects of it and feel the medicine. And so I'm excited for this weekend when I go on my girls trip, that I haven't had it in so long. So it's going to be potent.
amazing, love it. So you really use it with intention.
Yes.
Yeah, love it. And do you have like a specific recipe or something, like a secret? What what can
It's
help us
so
women?
simple. Yes. So never boil it. Never ever boil it. My method for using it ceremoniously, and by ceremoniously, I mean, when you really want to have an intentional drop in with the medicine, never use any type of milk. So just water, cacao, and maybe some spices that you really resonate with. I resonate with cinnamon and clove and a little bit of cayenne, and then natural sweeteners. I love maple syrup in my cacao, but some people can use honey as well. I know someone that uses dates. If you blend dates together with some water, you can create this like caramelly syrup. Um, but for ceremonial use, I don't use anything else other than water and spices again and the sweetener. And what I do is I put the cacao in the pot and I slowly add water on medium to low heat while it's and I whisk it while it's, heating up. And so it melts slowly and then I add the water, the amount of water that I want. And you keep it on low heat, you don't boil it. The other method that I do is with when I do it with milk. So I do love oat milk with my cacao. When I use it for like if I want to have a nice cacao in the morning and do some free journaling, or if I'm with friends and we want to have a little cacao moment and a little lighter moment, I do use oat milk and I do half oat milk, half water, to not make it so I guess, dense. Um, but then what I do is I pour all the oat milk and the water in a pot before the cacao and I boil it, but then I turn it off and then I leave it for a second and then I add the cacao in it and I mix it in. Or you could do it the other way where you have the cacao in and then you slowly pour the liquid while it melts. It's up to you. But that's my quick way is boil it first and then turn it off and then leave it to cool off for a little bit. And then you add the cacao and then you add all the spices you want. And then you add the sweetener at the very end and then you whisk it some more or you leave it sitting because the longer you leave the cacao sitting, the more the liquid's gonna absorb it and the more delicious it is, honestly.
Thank you. I will
Yeah.
definitely test it. I will put a description here under the video so everybody can prepare a cacao a la Shani. Heart opening.
Beautiful. Oh, and something else I love to add is I've been really, really resonating with the rose. So if people find rose petals, food grade rose petals, of course, like the kind that you use for tea, you can sprinkle some of that on the top. Sometimes I just even put it in the pot. Um, yeah, rose is a really good addition to.
I love that you say that because the rose is the symbol of Maria Magdalena, the divine feminine. And this is also right the reason why this podcast exists to really interview women like you. For me, you embody the divine feminine. You're like I feel like there's also so much playfulness in your work, like Cacao Fairy. Your how you introduced yourself to me when I met you first time, and now these slumber parties. It's also so playful, so nice. And I wonder, how did you come up with the name of Girls Being Girls?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. First of all, thank you. I'm so honored. I love that I bring that playful vibe and yeah, and I remember, yeah, when we first met the cacao fair, and she'll always live within me. I really want to bring her back actually at some point, see how she'll come back. But it's funny you ask about the name. My boyfriend and we fight about who came up with that name. He was one of the first people that I told my vision to, and I have a it was me. It was me. And he's like, no, I came up with, and I was like, no, it was me. I remember saying like girls being girls together. And then I was like, girls being girls. And I think he came up with like taking the I out of it to make it more chic and more cool. But if you're listening to this, I came up with it. So yeah, I came up with it because I was thinking of like the vibe of like, okay, we are like having fun together. We're sisterhood. And I think it was me and my friend. You remember Olivia? Olivia, another little magic fairy. I think because her and I were having a lot of slumber parties together. And I think I felt that sense of like, we're just being girls together. And I think we said that a lot. And so I think that's how I came up with it because I was just like, like I was so immersed in like just being girls together. And I was like, that is it. That's the vibe.
Amazing. So beautiful. So beautiful. And what's
Thanks
your
for
bigger
asking.
vision for do you see yourself having these slumber parties all around the world, or what's your
Yes, I absolutely do. I see myself having different themed retreats. So Costa Rica will be a cacao immersion because that is where I source my cacao from the wonderful farm over there. And so I really want to take the girls over to like really meet the trees and meet the family and all that. And so and then Iceland, hot springs and just the serene energy of Iceland. And I lived there for 9 years. So I really want to take the girls to a space where like I grew up as my teenage self. And so um I really, really want to take this global. And I love this question. My vision for Girls Being Girls is to eventually um, recruit and hire on, women that also want to lead slumber party experiences. And so I envision these retreats happening all over the world through different women that also embody that playful, feminine, that, like that stewardess of the slumber party experience. And so I really see this growing.
Amazing. Thank you. I also see it. I really see it. I see you have your own cacao, like your cacao. I can see it already. It's like so amazing.
I'm trying to work with the because they're so small. They're so small. And so they're not really I'm really, really telling them, I'm like, people love your cacao. They love your cacao. Like, we're trying to figure out a way to be able to make it easier. Because like I would love to continue sharing their beautiful medicine. So we're trying to figure out a way not to make it way too big that it's not personable anymore. Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yay. Amazing. And when it comes to feminine energy, I'm just wondering what is for you the definition of feminine energy and how do you embody it? Like, what are your tools?
I love this question. So I have been really thinking about, how we have molded ourselves into one archetype of the feminine energy. I think people think that she's just soft and she's, just in receiving mode. And I think the beautiful thing about the feminine is that she is, I think the word that comes to mind is everything, but it's like multifaceted. So for me, it's she's devoted to herself. She's in full expression, which doesn't only mean being soft and calm and still. And she is what was the other one? Embodied truth. And so I noticed this awakening happening recently where women are awakening to their truth and being in service of truth. And that has been a very uncomfortable thing for everybody because they were like, oh, like, we're not shrinking for anybody anymore and we're not people pleasing anymore. And so these three pillars of devotion, full expression, and embodied truth to me really embody the feminine, and it gives such a wide range to the feminine. She's not meant to be understood. She's meant to be surrendered to because she's such a range. And it does take such a mastery to master the vessel that holds the feminine. So I will say, even myself, like I'm still on the way. Like I think I'm still tipping the surface of mastering the vessel the more I dive into my feminine essence because she's just so like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say about it, and it's I love this. I love your questions. I love your questions because these are also the three pillars I was diving into behind the vision of Girls Being Girls and what the three pillars are. And those are the three pillars. And so I think it's so, I'm realizing like it's so fitting because the feminine is to me those three pillars. And when you master those three pillars, when you master devotion to yourself, when you master full expression. And so I say full expression, and there's a little bit of a nuance. So, full expression doesn't mean allowing your wounded inner child to just go off on a rampage and project all over everybody and like allow your victim mindset to be everywhere. Full expression to me is allowing yourself to take up space and allow yourself to like express who you really are, but who you really are is the present. There is a responsibility that comes with it. And then so embodied truth is like the truth, like the accountability. When I'm embodying truth of, let's say I was in victim mode about some scarcity mindset. When I embody that truth, that doesn't mean that I'm just projecting on somebody. It means that I am taking accountability. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it's like, Spider-Man, like, what is it? What is that saying about like with great power comes great responsibility? There's so much responsibility that comes with it. Women who are able to face their truths or the truth can step into that space of accountability, but it requires facing yourself. And then the devotion part is it makes it easier. And so that's why like self-love practice, like it makes it easier to face the parts of you that, you normally wouldn't want to face because you have that love for yourself. And so I think that's something that over the years, even before I started doing this work, like the first work I started doing was Cacao and inner child healing, and being able to practice meeting myself over and over and getting to know myself with an unconditional love helped me so much to face parts of myself that I had to take responsibility for. And it's now evolving too with I recently have been realizing that to put it bluntly, women when we are in our victim mindset, it's not cute anymore. It's not cute. It breeds this sense of entitlement. And it sounds so harsh. This sounds so harsh. But when you're able to admit that to yourself, like I was acting entitled because I was playing the victim, I feel such an empowerment with that. Like I'm able to take full accountability. And so that's power to me. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. This was, I feel like, such a powerful channeling, and I feel a lot of women who see this right now can recognize themselves, and this will help. So thank you
Yeah,
so
and
much.
it's all mastering the vessel, and it doesn't mean that, we have to be hard on ourselves or, force some healing, but like just when we meet ourselves over and over, and that's the devotion part, when you're devoted to meeting yourself, and not to say you don't have to be digging for everything. When I say meeting yourself over and over, it's like keep living the life that is healing for you, because the healing happens through the parts that you meet along the way as you live your life, as you interact and relate to people around you. You'll see and you'll learn over time. So for everyone that feels like they need to do more ceremonies and more work, like try just paying attention in real life, in real time, and you'll find that
Thank
there's
you.
enough work that needs to be done.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, what are your habits? Do you have like any habits which really help with self-love, devotion?
I would say one that I just recently started getting back to was free journaling. So just dumping everything onto my piece of paper. I would love to start doing it in the morning again, but I'll do it before. Like if I sit down and I really want to focus on work, sometimes I will pull out my journal and just blab out every little thought that I have so that I could clear my head. Strength training. And I know it's like s- women are just, what? What do you mean? Like strength training, have a movement practice. Have some sort of movement practice. I like strength training because I really want to feel strong in my body and lift things. But any type of consistent movement practice, because I realized 2 months ago that growth and the understanding of the growth mindset, I cannot fully understand it unless I have some sort of consistent practice every day, because that is a great practice to show up regardless of your mood. And it made me realize there's a difference between emotions and your mood. And if I continuously say, I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to my body, I'm not going to go, you're allowing the mood to take over you and consume you, and you're not putting yourself in the authority. And that will also help you put yourself in the authority when you do the facing yourself work. Like it all has to do with each. So for me, showing up to the gym, obviously have your rest days. Obviously, if you're feeling sick, like then you'll be able to practice discerning. Like I did get sick 2 weeks ago and I couldn't go and I had to really relax. But like there's a discernment that happens, and like you really see like and the resilience. Like I think, when I first started diving into being in my feminine, I had no sense of resilience. I was just allowing life to just take me like the wind and, and I needed that. I did need that. I did need that. And now I'm developing the, resilience through the waves and having that consistent movement practice really helps me. And I know someone else who does like a 40-day qigong practice and that helps her as well. So like any type of movement, any type of movement practice. And then also, the movement part of it too, moving your body. It moves whatever needs to move, like you have the hypno dance, like it just moves all that energy and all that, whatever's stuck. So connects you back to yourself. So me, that consistent movement practice. I don't know what else. I think those are good for.
Amazing. Thank you. I loved it. I love the fact you said
Yes. Yeah, consistency, devotion. And yeah, I think people, took the name discipline and were like, that sounds so harsh. And I shouldn't, we don't work like men because we have, our cycles, but there is a consistency that we can do for those cycles. So, okay, if you're luteal, be consistent in whatever movement practice feels good during luteal. When you're menstruating, be consistent. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. Because then I also sometimes get inspired, like when I'm like deep luteal and I really want to lift some heavy weights because I'm like PMSing so bad. There is a different, like a level of listening to your body deeply. And I mean, it's all listening to your body.
amazing, Shani. Thank you. So I have two more questions before we
Yes.
close. The one question is if you would be able to speak to little Shani, like the child, like what wisdom would you like to share with?
You have the most amazing questions. Oh my gosh. I would say to her, thank you. Thank you for being such a leader. Thank you for not being afraid to be the one to take the first step, or for not being afraid to show up as a little leader. I really love that I still have that trait. Thank you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I know that you look up to me and you see how cool I am and how what I'm creating, but you started that, and mom and dad really see that in you. That was the first thing they mentioned when they see that we're doing all these events and things. They're like, they're not surprised. They're not surprised. And so I'm really proud of you for doing that. And I hope that the play is really nourishing you, the aspect of play. And for my inner teen, I hope you really see that you are loved and you are so cherished and that you've always belonged. I love you so much.
Wow, so beautiful, amazing. Yeah. And then I have one more question, the last question, which is, if there would be only one book you could ever recommend to anyone, which book would you recommend to read to someone?
My goodness, I need to brush up on my books. Okay, wait. Oh, can I do a fiction
Maximum
and
two,
nonfiction?
three, but yeah, which really
Okay,
will help, like which really is like so.
okay. Ooh, the one that I've always recommended to people for a long time, and I think I need to update that because it's been a while since I read a new nonfiction that was like, ooh, The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. That I just that was one of the books that it just really, really hit me for such a long time, and I never stopped recommending it to everyone. So he goes on, he explains, and he has other books it's basically an autobiography of his journey of just saying yes and just surrendering and seeing everything that unfolded. And it just is a great reminder of the power of surrendering. And I read it, and then I went to Bali, and then I went through that journey of 6 months of, yeah, it really, really helped to refine my intuition and to follow my intuition. And it really opened my life. So I highly recommend that. one that I would recommend for I do believe I say this to everyone. I'm like, if you really want to heal your inner child and you're like through reading or through books, self-help books are great and all. But if you read a rose and what is it? A Court of Thorns and Roses, that fiction series, it's a fantasy fairy like book and it's a little sexy. It'll heal your inner child so quick. Like I love reading a good fantasy fiction book. You get lost in the world. Like for those that used to read when they were kids and they used to get lost in that world, like just get one series of like a good fantasy land. That is just it's so good. So yeah, those are my two.
Okay, thank you. I love this, especially because you said earlier the feminine is not here to be understood. She's here to be surrendered to. So that's
Yes.
really the surrender is the powerful part. And also, I really like this with the instead of watching something to really get lost in a book, right? Like, and personal
Gosh, you have
development
to
can be
read the
sometimes very heavy.
series. You have to read it.
Yeah, amazing. I'm gonna link those books under the podcast. So
Beautiful.
thank you so much, beautiful Shani, for this interview, for your time.
Thank you. It's so good to see your face. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, let's say goodbye to our watchers,
Ah,
and
I love
I
you.
will love you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Soul Led Women podcast by Pina Awakening, part of the Divine Matriarch Series, conversations with women who lead from soul. I hope this conversation touched something in your heart and reminded you that the path of living from soul is unique for each of us, yet we walk it together. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with a woman in your life who might also be inspired by this conversation. And if you feel called to go beyond conversation and bring these insights into your body, you are warmly invited to join my Pina Awakening dance community, where we gather from around the world for embodiment rituals and dance activations. You will find the link in the show notes. To connect with today's guest, explore her work, or learn more about the Divine Matriarch Series, you will also find all the links below. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for walking the path of being a soul-led woman. Until next time, welcome home.